Consolidation of the sheet or web basically takes place all along the machine from the dry line forward. We think of the dry line as the end of the sheet forming process and the beginning of the consolidation process. Consolidation of the web means that more water is removed and the sheet is compacted under externally applied forces as it moves in the machine direction. When we consolidate the sheet in the press section, basically what we're doing is subjecting the sheet to external pressure. We do this in a series of double rolls, with the sheet being cushioned by felts or blankets. This whole process may seem very simple, but this apparent simplicity is deceptive. What takes place here in the press section is very complicated, and it's essential for us paper makers to understand these complex operations because of two practical considerations. All of these advantages in effective wet-end pressing increase the productivity of the machine. As you can see, pressing is a very important operation in the paper-making process that we carefully control to achieve optimum results. In our mill, we use a common straight-through arrangement in our press section. On the right-hand side is the Couch roll. The web travels down the inclined wire between the Couch roll and the wire turning roll. At this point, it is transferred to the felt, which carries it through the press section. The sheet adheres to the wire with considerable force, and therefore the pull of the presses not only peels it off the wire, but extends it in the machine direction. After takeoff, the web travels successively between 4 presses. Some mills, though, use only 2 or 3 presses. Each press consists of an upper and lower press roll. In addition, each press has its own press felt. These specially woven felts support the web and are vital in the dewatering process. The series of rolls beneath the presses are part of the felt cleaning loops. This combination of presses is called a plane press and is what's commonly used in making paperboard like we make here in this mill. The 2 rolls of each press are both solid. The upper roll is made of granite. The lower roll is usually made of metal. Some mills cover this with rubber. Now that you have a basic idea of how our presses are arranged, let's take a look at exactly what happens to the sheet, or as some people call it, the web, as it's removed from the wire. The basic means of transferring the wet web from the wire section to the press section are the open draw and the vacuum pickup, sometimes called the suction pickup. For a long time, all machines used this open draw method. Then in the mid-50s, most mills started using a vacuum pickup method, which usually puts less stress on the sheet. In our mill, we still use the open draw type because we make heavyweight sheets which can tolerate greater stress than lighter grade paper. In this system, the first open draw, or point at which the paper is not supported, usually occurs within the press section. The first open draw is always a critical point with respect to machine operation because the wet sheet is relatively weak and subject to stresses from a variety of causes. At greater speeds, the need to provide support for lightweight sheets throughout the pressing operation and into the drying section becomes paramount. In operating presses like these, we have to make sure that conditions are kept steady. For example, the loading of the 2 rolls that come together must be uniform across the press. This means that when the 2 rolls are brought together, they need to touch at a horizontal line having equal pressure at each point of contact, so that dewatering will be uniform across the machine. Uniform loading is not an easy thing to accomplish. The top rolls of our presses are made of synthetic stone. They're about 3 feet in diameter and are over 20 feet long. Another important part of the pressing operation is the press felt, or as some paper makers call it, the press clothing. Today, felt designs come in all shapes and sizes. Here in our mill, we use a needled felt, which has a porous base fabric surrounded by fluffy batt material. There are many other types of presses besides the plane press that I've shown you here in our mill. While the plane press is just fine for making paperboard like we make here, if you're making other kinds of paper, such as tissue paper, you'd probably want to use a different kind of press arrangement. Basically, the same principles I've told you about in plane presses apply to other presses, such as suction presses and grooved roll presses. The main difference is that in these other presses, water removal from the press felt is enhanced in various ways.